What's up, Internet? This is our Should You Watch Army of the Dead non-spoiler discussion. My name's Nerdy.
And I'm Clarus.
We get Nerdy Nightly.
And we thought we'd share it with you.
That is right. Welcome back to another discussion. This time for Netflix's Army of the Dead, directed by Zack Snyder, which means that the comments of this video will be completely rational.
It's not where I thought you were going with this, but I like it. So it came out yesterday?
It came out over a week ago in theaters, but
Right.
it dropped on Netflix yesterday. Unfortunately, we live in Ontario. Theaters are still very much closed, as is everything else. And so we had to wait for the Netflix drop, and I am gonna be honest, I'm really disappointed in that. Not because of the movie. Well, because of the movie. I am disappointed that I didn't see this in theaters because it is cinematically really cool. Like the visuals are huge, and I wish I'd seen it on a bigger screen.
Yeah, the two strongest points of the movie are definitely the visuals. It was really great to watch. I wish we'd had a better TV or seen it in theaters. And two, I would say creativity. Those are the movie's two strongest suits.
I agree with that.
Zack Snyder definitely knows how to make a movie look good, for sure.
Yeah.
Like that, that is just not really debatable. I don't know anyone who's like, yeah, it doesn't, I don't know.
I mean, I would argue, I think Zack Snyder might be the most visually proficient director.
Yeah, okay.
I think, like, as in terms of, like, pure, if you just take the visuals, he is, like, one of the top, if not, maybe not the best. I think that there are other directors who are doing other, I think Tenet is up, or Tenet. Christopher Nolan is one of those directors who just makes the visual look so stunning. But Zack Snyder definitely has a style and a competency with visual that is in the upper echelon.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
One of the things that this movie does a lot is play with depth of field, with focus. And I know it kind of bugged your eyes a little bit at times, but for me, he used the depth of field to show how overbearing the Nevada sun is, and how like you could feel the heat of that desert through the way that he played with those focus shifts. Because your eyes kind of do that, right? When it's really, really hot, your eyes have a harder time focusing. Yeah. You feel that. And the way that he did that with the camera, I was so... At first I was like, oh, he's playing with depth of field again. It's a Zack Snyder thing. And then I was like, oh, I get it. It clicked. Like, I was like, I get what he's doing with this. And I was like, I've been to Las Vegas, and this is what it feels like. Like, this is really... It was cool. It was a really, really... I thought it was brilliant. Yeah,
it was extremely clever. I think it was a great idea. It did bother me. I just... I don't know how to describe it, but I had a hard time watching it at certain moments. And it just kind of irked me in a sense.
Do you think that okay, this is a weird question, but do you think that it is because you used to wear glasses and you got LASIK, and the depth of field changes reminds you of like taking your glasses on and off?
I hadn't thought about that. Because
that's kind of what it looks when he like sharpens focus. It kind of looks like you put glasses on. Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, not important. What is important is Army of the Dead is a zombie film that takes place a few years after a government subject escapes from... This is not a spoiler. This is literally the opening. 2 seconds.
In the opening.
And
before the credits.
The credits are the zombie horde taking over Las Vegas. And the movie then becomes about the fact that Vegas gets walled off by shipping containers by the government, and this... mysterious Japanese businessman who we will get into in the spoiler chat.
Cringe.
Very cringe. He sends Dave Bautista to get a team to break into his casino in Vegas to steal $200 million before the government nukes the zombies.
Yeah, the government is like, oh, well, they're all in one spot, so let's just throw a nuke in the desert. And, everyone's like, well, yeah, that's something that the U.S. does, so...
Yeah, I really appreciate it. There's a line in the movie where they're like, yeah, we drop nukes, we test our nukes in the Nevada desert all the time. And I was like, oh, yeah, that does really make sense.
Yeah. So, Yeah, so the plot of it, I guess, is, you know, you got Dave Bautista, he gets a team together, and that's their goal, is to go in, break into the safe, get the money out before the nuke drops.
And look, I'm going to be really clear. I liked this movie a lot. I enjoyed watching this movie a lot. I highly recommend watching this movie if you're willing to put up with a couple of things. There are caveats. One, you have to accept that this movie is way too long. It is so pointlessly long because there are lots of things that could be cut.
Yeah.
And I like it.
They're just either unnecessary. They don't add to the story in any sense, really.
Well, and Netflix put out a tweet that was like, "This is the Snyder cut. Like, don't worry, fans." And I was like, "Yeah, it is quite clear that no one gave any notes on what should be cut."
Somebody needs to tell Zack Snyder what pacing is.
Yeah. The second thing that you have to accept is that it's like epically dumb. This movie is great, but it's so stupid. And though you just have to be like, all right.
Yeah, if you're the kind of person that can be like, that makes no logical sense, but it doesn't bother me, then you can enjoy this movie.
Yeah.
I'm not always that person.
Which is the line, I think, between you and I. Like, I get frustrated at times with how dumb this movie is, but I'm ultimately still like, this is very enjoyable. I think the acting was great, pretty much across the board. There wasn't really any actors I didn't like. I generally liked them all. They all did their job. So, you know, the characters are very, they're paper-thin characters. But
yeah, there's so many people.
The movie doesn't care about that. You know what I mean? The movie just wants to get to the big action sequences. But the actors do more with the dialogue than the dialogue gives them in a lot of scenes here. I think Dave Bautista carries the movie really well. I think he's a fun, energetic leading man. I think that he plays the, like, kind of dopey social interaction man who can also, like, turn into, like, war mode really well. Yeah. And seeing those two sides of that character in him was actually a lot of fun. And the actress who plays his daughter, her last name's Purnell, Leah Purnell. I thought she was great. She's the most unnecessary and dumbest part of the movie, but the actress does a really good job of doing a lot of really dumb things.
Yeah. Yeah, she tries. She tries really hard to make it work, and I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
I think you and I disagree a little bit, and I might get some hate for this. I love Dave Bautista. I love the stuff that he does. This was fine to me. I've heard a lot of people say, wow, yeah, he's great, he carried the movie and all that stuff. I found him to be a little bit flat, personally.
I disagree. I thought he was the funniest part of the movie. I thought he had the best comedic timing. And
no,
granted,
I think
he's so funny as Drax. Like, he has good comedic timing.
No, the best characters were definitely the pilot and the locksmith.
Yeah, you kind of can't talk about this movie without talking about the fact that Tig Notaro was not cast in this movie and did not shoot this movie until the part was originally played by Chris D'Elia, the comedian, who was under some accusations last year. And so they removed him from the movie. Yep. They pulled Christopher Plummer and Kevin Spacey, and they digitally added Tig Notaro into the film. And she never shot any scenes with anyone in this movie. Yeah. Apparently. And you really can't tell.
You can't tell. It's pretty seamless.
Yeah. It's kind of, honestly, one of the coolest things about this movie is that they pulled that off as seamlessly as they did.
Yeah, it looked great. Yeah. And, like, that's the one thing that I absolutely cannot deny.
Yeah, she's great.
It looks great. The creativity of the story and the zombies and how that all functions, we won't get into in the non-spoiler chat. Yeah. But I really want to point out it is really interesting and held the movie together for me in a sense. There were things at the end that I was like, this is garbage. But I was so interested in this story that Zack Snyder was trying to tell that I was like, okay, come on. Like, we can get there.
Until a point. There's something we have to talk about in the spoiler chat. Please come back to that video after you've seen the movie. Yeah. Because there's something we have to talk about that I'm upset about. I'm, like, literally mad about.
Yeah.
But I can't talk about it here because
it's spoilers.
It's not really a spoiler, though, because this movie doesn't have a plot, but...
No, the movie has a plot. It's just like Swiss cheese.
Sure.
You know.
The movie has a plot that, like, you need a minesweeper not to fall into the plot holes of. Yeah. Like, nothing makes sense. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But, like, characters do not behave as if they understand what is happening around them, and they just do random things.
Yeah.
Like, truly
they don't behave like
things.
people sometimes, and it doesn't work.
And there's whole things that you're like, why are they doing that? And then the thing that they do leads to them having an item in an action sequence later, and you're like, did they want that action sequence, and they retroactively made a character do a really dumb thing so that they could justify getting to that? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Before we wrap it up, I do want to say that I also recommend watching the movie, which I know you're surprised.
Look at you recommending a Zack Snyder movie.
As long as you can deal with the fact that it's dumb, and it's free on Netflix if you have Netflix. If you don't have Netflix, don't go get Netflix for this movie. That's not worth it. But if you already have Netflix and you have 2.5 hours, that's the other thing as well. It's very long. But I recommend seeing the movie because of the creativity in it. Look, there's so many zombie stuff out there. Zombie stuff is everywhere. It's a dime a dozen at this point. This one is different. This one's creative. And I got to give credit where it's due, and I think it's really interesting.
I will say the zombie stuff is cooler in concept than in execution.
Yeah.
But apparently that is because they're making like an Army of the Dead universe, and so this is like the setup movie for that.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I don't love it. I think it's a dumb thing to do. I think that this movie should stand on its own a little bit more than it does.
Yeah.
There's stuff that's set up in here that they're like, come back to the animated prequel to find out. And I'm like, don't do that. Like, don't tell me that I have to go watch something else to know why you did that thing. And we'll get to that in the spoiler chat, I promise. Yeah. But the other thing, there was one last thing I wanted to say in the non-spoiler part of this. Oh, go see this in theaters if you can.
Oh, yeah.
I recommend it. I think that, like, of the things in theaters right now, yeah, I think that this is I enjoyed this as much as I enjoyed Godzilla vs. Kong.
Yeah.
And it's the same level of dumb that Godzilla vs. Kong is. Like, I don't think this is any dumber or smarter than that. I think that this kind of comes into that same slot of like the characters kind of do things so that cool action scenes happen, but the action scenes are really cool, so it's worth it.
Yeah.
Oh, this movie has one of the greatest zombie. You know what? I'm gonna say it. This movie has my favorite zombie concept of the last 10 years. In there's one scene that we'll talk about in the spoiler chat, but I think is the best zombie scene in years. And I was, we'll talk about it later, but Zack Snyder did something in the first half of this movie that was so conceptually cool and thrilling and tense to watch that I honestly, even if the rest of the movie was worse than it is, it's not, the rest of the movie isn't awful. But if the rest of the movie was absolute garbage, but that one scene was still in it, I would still recommend the movie for that one scene, because I thought it was, that scene was so good that literally this movie could have like turned off after that, and I would have been like, you have to watch it for that one thing. So I highly recommend watching this movie. I think it's fun. Yeah, it's the big dumb fun that you might want to watch.
Yeah,
it's very gory though. Content warning: if you don't like gore, this is like beyond.
Yeah, for sure. Expect to be frustrated at the end of it, but like your eyes will enjoy it.
Yeah. Or just do substances and don't think too much. I don't.
Oh,
please! If I had had a few more drinks for this movie, I would have enjoyed it even more.
Drinks, maybe.
Yeah. Oh, don't do psychedelics.
Yeah.
If you like this video, like and subscribe. If you don't like this video, dislike, please, and leave mean comments about us. The algorithm gods are hungry, and we must feed her. You can also follow us over on Twitch. I'm over at twitch.tv/nerdynightly.
I'm over at twitch.tv/ClarishTakaris.
And as always, my name's Nerdy.
And I'm Clarus.
Do something nerdy tonight.
Bye.
Bye.